Some of your favorite games have been packaged into one cohesive survival action game that is right now only available on PC. And it's free to play, and it's called Once Human. With an addictive loop of gathering materials, crafting and building up your character, and upgrading gear and venturing out into the world. It is nothing like you've ever seen before. Once Human is a free-to-play survival game, and fans of loot-based survival games with crafting, survival titles like Palworld, with the mystique of Death Stranding and Control wrapped into a package that feels like State of Decay and Days Gone with a creepy twist. Once Human is created by Starry Studios, a Chinese developer with a penchant for stylized visuals and stylized characters. The world you literally drop into is a post-apocalyptic imagining of Earth long after it has been decimated by other dimensional creatures and deviations, which are amalgamations of zombie-like creatures and beasts that have mixed with ordinary, everyday parts of our world. You play as a Mayfly, a superpowered character that is meant to help repair this broken world. Once Human is much like the famed 2024 hit Palworld. As you drop in with a custom character, you build your own base. It is very familiar to fans that like games like Grounded, Valheim, Rust, games that allow you to build a custom home base, get refineries and machines that you'll use to build, gathering and discovering materials so you can create better weapons and armor for your character. The game is played in third person with a full open world that you can travel to on a motorcycle. Melee and third-person shooting is very familiar and feels very satisfying to slice up soldiers and zombies with a machete or aim down the sights or over the shoulder with familiar weapons like SMGs, AKs, shotguns, and even crossbows. In this world, you'll encounter fog-like infected areas with demonic evolved creatures, so at times it can feel like a zombie open world, and then you get this twist of an open world game like Remedy's Control. You'll be able to telekinetically pick up some items and hurl them at enemies, and using your own dimension vision to look for rare loot and items. All of this can be brought back to your base to get better upgrades. The open world is immediately satisfying, with landmark unlocks for teleporting around the world, finding enemy outposts, and working your way into massive dungeons that have you take on a huge boss battle, and these are all set according to level. And as you play through the game and explore the world, you'll gain the ability to find items that will help you build your character to become even more powerful and give you access to better gear and better weapons. The narrative in Once Human is kind of strange and follows many tropes we see across Eastern RPGs. Some of the characters are pretty eccentric, others don't speak at all as their voice dialogue of the main characters haven't even been added to the game yet. Once Human has only just released in its early access free-to-play mode since July 2024, it's still early on in its public availability just on PC, but developers have said they plan to bring it to Xbox and PlayStation consoles as soon as they get more of the development fleshed out. What's here is a very satisfying gameplay loop. Combat feels great, and taking down enemies feels punchy, and gathering all the scraps and loot and bringing them down to your home base gives you a sense of ownership as you gather in a mass of large quantity of items in the world that allow you to craft structures and unlock more abilities. Once Human has a system called Memetics where you can unlock the ability to create upgrades for your base or have the ability to craft and refine materials into defenses and survival necessities. Fans of State of Decay will see many similarities in the world, loot system, and combat, except with Once Human, you are given what seems to be 100 times more inventory space on your character, and especially stuff you can hold in your base and the actual building you can do. Being out in the open world, you do not feel restricted to pick up everything you want and bring it home, and disassembling scrap into crafting components also lends to a feeling of progress and satisfaction when you go out on big loot missions and take out settlements. Enemies will frequently respawn not long after walking away, so you don't feel like you're cleaning the world, but there's always something to look for, and there's always enemies to take down to help you level up your character. Now, one of the major concerns for players is that every 6 weeks, they introduce a new season and a new map to Once Human, and your character progression is slightly reset. Starry Studios producer said, "We are here to reassure you that this will not happen. We value the time and effort you put into this game, So the items and gear you have obtained from the seasonal scenario will be retained in various ways. Your character is reverted to level 1 at the start of a new season, and they'll start on a fresh, unrevealed map. But players will be able to carry a good deal of progress between seasons, including blueprints, furniture formulas, cosmetics, and custom house blueprints. Completed story tasks will be remembered, and players will be able to redo streamlined versions of them to get their associated rewards. Resources like ammunition and medicine will also partially be carried over." End quote. Once Human is still in full development, but available as a free-to-play business model right now, where there are microtransactions for cosmetics, which are pretty wild looking, but you can still unlock some gear and cosmetics naturally by just playing the game. So the world is always being improved upon with the updates and seasonal changes. Bringing a new map could reinvigorate excitement, as I've already poured over 30 hours in this first week of playing Once Human. And I've done all of this so far just solo. And you will find other players out in the world who are there just to cooperatively, but there is a PvP mode. If you want to play this on console but don't want to wait, the game is pretty decently optimized for most PCs and even ran great on the ROG Ally or Steam Deck. Oh, and you'll encounter bugs or glitches or have to restart after a checkpoint if something doesn't work, but so far I've had a ton of fun. I've been pretty invested with my time in Once Human. What's here for a free-to-play model is definitely worth your time. If you enjoy games like State of Decay, Days Gone, Control, Death Stranding, or even Palworld, and yes, you'll be able to capture some pals or Pokemon-like creatures in the world and bring them into your base, and they have all different types of abilities that you can use. Once Human is definitely a strange game, and with its conventional combat controls and the feel of the guns and weapons that you'd expect in an open-world third-person game, you can get lost in this weird, deviated, post-apocalyptic Earth. I feel like Once Human has a lot to offer for gamers, and I hope it's coming to console sooner than later, but if you've got a semi-capable PC, I would definitely recommend checking it out. During my downtime for games, I was looking around for what was I going to play next as we waited for games that have been pushed out and delayed, and then I went to Steam and checked around, and it was highly recommended, Once Human, so I just downloaded it and started playing. I was immediately hooked and wanted to make a video and show. Most people who are probably on console don't know much about Once Human, so I wanted to showcase it and really try and give you an idea of what this game would be if you played it on console. And Palworld was a big hit at the beginning of the year, and it's a game I played some 40 to 50 hours in, and the survival elements and building and crafting has kind of become a new favorite of mine. So Once Human kind of resonated with me, especially since it feels like some of those other third-person open-world action-adventure games that I really like. So if you ended up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. If you want to further support what we're doing here on the Colteastwood channel, you can do that by hitting the join button below. I think it's over here. They move it around. And that will get you early access to our videos. It'll also get you monthly merch giveaways and so much more. Also, we have tiers on Patreon if you want to check that out and support the channel. Thanks so much for everything you're doing and helping us with the XNC podcast. We run that every Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific time and 8 p.m. Eastern. Keep an eye out here on the channel as well as the podcast. I'll have a preview coming up at the end of the month, October 29th, for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I went out to San Francisco and played the game, and I'll be talking about that when embargo lifts, and there'll be so much more to cover as we get into the holiday season or end of the year. But I want to know what you think about Once Human. Is it something you think you'd like? Do you typically shy away from the survival games? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and while you're there, please be nice.